Hello, I'm Jim, and welcome to Rallying in America, the Recce Podcast. This podcast is an exploration of a rich history, the stories and memories of those who made and make Rallying in America so great. Enjoy the show. This week's guest is someone you may have seen or met at a number of rallies such as Southern Ohio, STPR, and Boone. He is what I call a super volunteer. You can't miss that pink streak in a sea of black hair on the head of Christian Zoni. Christian, thanks for coming on the podcast this evening.
No, absolutely. Glad for you to have me.
Yeah. So we'll just start with when we first met was back in July at STPR, and you were my team captain for the super special on that Thursday evening.
Yeah, I remember that.
And it was a pretty good experience. I enjoyed it. It was fast-paced, especially for you. You really hustle. And it was, we had a few cars stall, and we had one catch on fire, which was fun.
Yeah, that was fun.
And then didn't see you until Boone a few weeks ago, and you were volunteering there. So how many rallies do you volunteer at a year?
That's a good question. Let's see. I've been trying to count on my hands here.
Mm-hmm.
I want to say so. First rally I volunteered at was for 23 2 years back.
Okay.
That was the only one I did for 2023, and then 2024 I did a ton more. I think I did around 8 ish, of which then coming into this year we're at 4. I think. Yeah,
4.
around 4.
So besides Boone and STPR this year, what other rallies have you been at?
There was Sofer, there was Snowdrift. Actually, no, that was about it. So, yeah, no, we were literally at 4.
Sofer and Snowdrift, okay. Cool. And where do you live?
So I live in a tiny little town up in north central Indiana called Warsaw, not to be confused with the Poland Warsaw.
Right.
Basically, this whole town, its whole deal is just manufacturing orthopedic implants. Think hip replacements and whatnot.
Oh, okay.
I literally only am here. Well, not only am here, but I moved out here for work, and now, incidentally, it happens to be, and this is the only reason I'm able to do so many rallies in the first place. Warsaw is in a strange little position, give or take about equidistant to every single major event on the calendar, just by virtue.
Oh, nice.
Like we're talking 5 hours to Snowdrift, 5 hours to Sofer, 6-ish hours to 100 Acre, 7 hours to Boone, 8 hours to LSPR. The only problem, if you can tell, is that nothing is less than 4 hours, and they're all a bit far, but they're all equally as far. So it just kind of works out.
Gotcha. So how did you get in the rally? Did you grow up around motorsports or just cars in general?
So the funny thing about that is actually nobody in my family is into racing in any capacity. The closest was my dad being into NASCAR when I was like 7, and being a huge Dale Jr. fan. That's literally the closest at that point. So, but past that, funny enough, I used to, when I was younger, was more into aircraft and whatnot. And then when I got into college, I was at a club fair. And are you by any chance familiar with the Baja SAE by chance?
It sounds familiar.
So it's a collegiate series where you were essentially a team of students builds a used to be a 2-wheel drive buggy, now they're 4-wheel drive buggies, completely from scratch. I'm talking we
cool.
hand weld our own cages. The only thing that we don't build on those cars well, technically off the shelf their transmissions, but the only thing spec on those cars were the engines themselves, and they were little 10 horsepower Briggs and Stratton motors. But that's what really got me into racing
Oh, cool.
wholesale when I was younger, and you know, Mini Baja takes its name from the Baja 1000, and that it
Hmm.
is loose surface off-road racing, and that translated really well to rally. And but like not even way back, a couple years ago, I was trying to, I'd finally got my first job, wanted to finally make my own project car, and then I got my hands originally on what I don't know I no longer have, a super gutted RX-7, and I was looking for a series I could enter it into
Yeah.
for a relatively okay-ish budget. And naive little me thought, oh, I could make this into a rally car for a decent price. That never panned out. But I ended up volunteering at SOFR 2 years back, with mostly because I'd played dirt rally for years. I had played all sorts of racing games for years, but never actually went to an event. And I had originally thought, well, you know, surely the games only really tell you the fun part. They don't tell you about everything else that sits in
Hmm.
between that makes a rally run.
Yeah.
So I figured, what's the closest event to me? And the closest event to me happened to be SOFR, and the rest is that.
Okay. Very cool. And then you just got hooked, and then you decided to keep volunteering. So at SOFR, what was your first volunteer experience like, and where did
So,
they put you?
so my very first experience at SOFR, and mind you, this is me going completely by myself. None of my friends were into the sport at the time,
Hmm.
so it was literally just me. They had me posted up at a hairpin, and this was also long before I got my ham license, so I didn't even have comms.
Oh, okay.
And they had me posted up at a hairpin completely by myself. I didn't even know, like, at this point, I didn't even know how the course cars worked. I just kind of sat there for 8 hours, and I had
Gotcha.
no spectators pulled up. A media team pulled up, and they were really fun to be with.
Yeah.
But other than that, I was just by myself that whole time. It was a fantastic experience. Believe me, like the first time in person seeing a rally car hit a handbrake turn through it, because it was I forget what the stage was,
Yeah.
the exact name, but it was about three-quarter of the way through the hairpin was a straight transition to tarmac. So
Oh,
you'd see
wow.
a lot of drivers take slightly different lines,
Hmm.
because you couldn't just whip it the entire way around, because you get that bite the moment you hit tarmac,
Yeah.
and you had to be a little bit careful about it. Otherwise, you might just hard understeer the moment that happened. But that
Yeah.
was super fun.
Very
The
cool.
second day I was on finish crew, and from there that gave me a huge amount of insight into how time control worked. I didn't even know that was a thing until, well, I worked that.
Hmm.
So that was an amazing learning experience all around, and I actually I had people to sit with this time.
So, finish crew, is that when you're doing the time card for when the stage is over and the car pulls up and you write the time in?
Yeah, that's exactly what that
The
is.
finish crew,
That's
right?
so you had a couple people over in Flying Finish, which is just by the photo gates that sit a good 1,000 feet upstage,
Hmm.
and that's what actually where the finish is recorded. And then yeah, they would pull up to us, and we'd fill out the time card, make sure everything's in sequence, and then let them on go.
And that's what I ended up doing that full day for SCPR. And that Friday is I did finish crew for the Shepherd stage, both runs on that.
Oh.
So I only made one mistake, which I felt pretty good, but it was kind of just a little bit of confusion going on with one of the teams. But yeah, that was a lot of fun. It was a blast. We went through the course and set up all the signage and everything, and then we did the finish time. It was a long day, good 8 hours plus, I think, just to do two stages.
Oh, I
So
bet. I bet.
yeah. So at STPR on your second and that Friday and Saturday, um, Where were you as far as position, and what were you handling at that time?
So I was captaining Randall for day 2 and day 3. I was
Mm-hmm.
captaining on Rattler. That was actually funny enough my first time ever actually being full on stage captain.
Yeah.
Prior to that, I've done give or take about everything, but that was one of the few things I hadn't done originally. Funnily enough, and I know you had so we had Nakasha on a couple episodes back.
Yeah.
Uh, I was originally just supposed to be a co-captain, and then my original captain he had to pull out for personal reasons. Just something
Mm-hmm.
came up, and he had just asked me, just dude, you want to take the reins? And I'm like, okay, I'll roll with it.
Yeah.
But it was a fantastic experience. It was super fun, and quite frankly, that it would not have gone as well if it did if it weren't for, well, one, my co-captain PJ,
Mm-hmm.
who was an absolute blast to be with. He is an absolute character. I love that guy.
Yeah.
And my girlfriend Rin, who I absolutely also need to shout out, I'm obligated to shout her out, being my as she was my number 2 that entire weekend,
Awesome.
and honestly kept me in line.
Right. Yeah. It's pretty awesome. And then when you went down to Boone, what did you work on down at Boone?
So that was actually a lot more of a lax weekend by comparison to STPR. Ren and I had been just marshaling. The name of the stage is escaping me. The one that had the tunnel at the end. Why am I forgetting its name?
Oh, yeah. Okay. I know what you mean. Yeah.
White Ash. That's what it
White
was.
Ash. Yep.
Yeah. So we were positioned just before the tunnel. So we had to deal with all the funny stuff, mostly on the after the first running. Sweep had come by. Funny, and actually had literally delivered a car to us. I
Mm-hmm.
forget who it was, but basically Sweep had to give us the car, and basically we were told to figure out a way to get him off the stage on account of the fact that because of the tunnel at White
Mm-hmm.
Ash,
Yeah.
they couldn't clear it towing a car. They could only clear. I don't even think they were able to clear it on their own. So they had to drop off the. They basically had to drop the car off there, and then I think they had someone or had a member of Sweep just stationed on one side of the tunnel, and another member of Sweep stationed on the other side, if I remember correctly.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
It was definitely a fun experience, and for Rin, that was her first time actually taking a marshal position. So
Okay.
she had never seen a car go at speed past her, just on account of the fact that, well, her STPR was her first volunteering
Yeah.
experience, so that was just doing a lot of admin work. So
Mm-hmm.
that was a great time just to give that experience. And then the second day we were running service radio, which was rather uneventful. Isn't the right word, because
Yeah.
that makes it sound like a bad thing. But
Mm-hmm.
frankly, uneventful is good because that means nothing's gone wrong.
Yeah. Right. And Boone is structured a little differently, where it starts later in the day, right? So we had
Yeah,
park exposés kind of spread out, and I know that second day, things didn't start till like 1 or 2 o'clock each day. Um, so it was a little different. I'm sure a lot of downtime for a lot of folks, but still a lot of good racing. And any comparisons, any differences between STPR and Boone? Maybe what you think about the roads.
well, the roads at Boone were a lot more dusty than STPR's.
Mm-hmm.
STPR's I has a lot more. How do I describe it? A lot more loose gravel, whereas Boone's definitely a lot more straight dirt and
Yeah.
dust. So you feel it like when a cloud just hits you in the face.
Mm-hmm.
You feel it,
Yeah.
especially with the dust caps that were at Boone. I mean, overall the rallies are. I mean, you're dealing with two very separate forms of I don't know if climate's the right word. Just areas,
Right.
like Southern Appalachia versus Northern Appalachia have two vastly different road structures, especially for
Yeah.
their unpaveds, and
Oh
it, it,
yeah.
it makes for a very interesting just course setup as a whole.
Yeah.
I know STVR is a lot more mountainsidey, drops outside types of turns as
Mm-hmm.
well, whereas Boone's a lot more just booking it through the woods at lower altitude.
Yeah. We'll be right back. Power up your ride. Daily driver, bike, or track beast with Melee Design Firm. Since 2018, Melee has been the go-to source for high-performance battery mounts and power solutions trusted by enthusiasts and professionals alike. Whether you're carving corners on the weekend, commuting to work, or chasing podiums, they have the gear to keep you powered and ready. Their lightweight universal battery mounts are engineered for performance, crafted with precision, and designed to handle whatever you throw their way. They don't just make and sell parts, they build confidence under the hood. Rugged, industrial, functional. That's the Melee difference. Join thousands of satisfied drivers who refuse to settle for stock. Upgrade your battery game today. Now back to the show. So what's your next rally? Is that going to be LSPR or are you going to do over mountain?
So I'm planning on probably hitting Overmountain. I haven't figured out what yet because I've been, doing my usual rounds of, uh, I'm just gonna say just begging people to let me co-drive because I've still been trying to find my place in the seat.
Gotcha.
I mean, I get why it's hard to want to put me on though, just because I, quite frankly, have not received any form of formal training.
Mm-hmm.
I really need to. I haven't had the chance to swing over to Team O'Neill or go through any of the Oz Rally Pro classes just because, well, one's halfway across the country, and I having spoken to Rhiannon about it. I don't believe they're doing any more Oz Rally Pro classes for the rest of this year. That they're completely booked out. Yeah. So it's a matter of just finding either a chance for some field experience and hoping someone will let me run, hoping someone will take a rookie on, which I totally get it, or just wait until next year and getting actual training.
Right.
But if not, I'm hoping someone can maybe if anyone listening happens to need free labor for Overmountain, hit me up. I'm always around. But if not, I'm just going to be going down there and volunteering like I usually do.
Right. Very cool. Yeah. Like you mentioned, the schools from you are a little further out than the rallies because you've got Dirtfish out in Washington, O'Neill in New Hampshire. You have Rally Ready, I think it is, in Texas. So it's kind of spread out.
Yeah, that's the funny caveat, I suppose, that there's literally nothing school-wise, nothing is close to me.
Right.
The events are close, but the schools aren't.
Right. So what about trying out SCCA a little bit and going to one of the rally crosses?
Oh, I've been to a couple autocross events, but I haven't actually ran any rallycross events. I haven't looked at the schedule. I don't even know if there actually are any rallycrosses in the Great Lakes region, just because I don't know. I could have sworn one of my friends told me that there wasn't, or the closest one was quite far.
Okay.
And to that as well, my daily would flip at a rallycross event, and my stage car is still far from done.
Okay. So what's your daily? What car is it?
My daily is just a 2011 Rogue. It was my mother's, and then it's mine, and that thing is, well, her and I have collectively owned it for 15 years. So no, wait, I can't do math. 14 years, approaching 15. There we go.
Yeah.
But other than that, I mean, it's gotten me. It is the car that has taken me to every single rally I've gone to.
Okay, gotcha. So it's pretty reliable then. And then
as reliable as one would expect for a Nissan CVT, because those things explode. But mine hasn't. Knock on wood.
Knock on wood, right? So what is your other car?
So the stage car I'm building, and I'm sure some people have seen it, some people haven't. It's an old '88 323 GTX. Back when,
oh, cool.
So, the 323 was Mazda's it is the progenitor to the Mazda 3 in Japan. It was just the protege. But that I stumbled upon after the RX-7 kind of fell through because, well, I found originally, like I said, originally I had bought it just to be a street car. Then I realized how hilariously gutted the interior was, and then the stupid idea clicked to make it into a race car, and then the more I looked into it, or the more I looked at it, the worse it got. I a couple pokes with a screwdriver, and I was not a happy camper. And at that point, I kind of realized that car was so rusted out. Like
Yeah.
there was a reason that the shell was only $1,500
Yeah.
on Marketplace, and like I said, naive little me is like, oh my God, an RX-7, that's that's a steal. Yeah, that's why it was $1,500.
How are parts for that? Are they easy to come by?
Well, for the seven or the 323.
Well, the 323 is they're kind of tough, right, to get parts
Yeah,
for?
those are rare. I have been lucky enough to have a lot of friends who either have a really keen eye on
Mm-hmm.
Marketplace
Yeah.
or have, especially there have been several friends of mine in the rally community that have offered just have they've literally said, I have parts from my previous rallying
Mm-hmm.
days. Do you want them? And I've been over the past year and a half just been amassing a collection. At this point, I have enough stuff to, if I were to shatter every single suspension component, I could put it back in. I could put it back together without running it with some extra parts to spare.
Yeah.
So I've been building up from there because, like I said, those things are a nightmare. Well, they are and they're not
Yeah.
because like suspension components are specific to them. You'd have to they like nobody, maybe except for maybe one or two companies that do like quote unquote gravel suspension, which is just,
Yeah.
street modded suspension with that's stiffer for gravel.
Mm-hmm.
Or but is it really proper gravel suspension? Like if you hit a jump on it, you'll blow the damper out.
Yeah.
But so like you'd have to go get like Bilstein universals and put your own top hat on there. They don't make ready to go sets for racing. So there's a lot more work involved with it, but that car has had so much history because I forget if I told you in passing before, but
Mm-hmm.
mine was booked back in the 90s
Oh,
and
okay.
it ran from 92, I think it ran about 10 events, and then in 90, maybe a bit more. And then at LSPR 99, in fact, actually, if you go through Jerry Winker's
Yeah.
photo album from LSPR 99, you can find that very car with a nice caved in dent from a tree. He happened to be about 20 feet from the crash when it happened, so he's told me that whole story.
Oh, yeah. He's
But
great.
that, yeah. Oh, I've heard he's amazing. But yeah, no, it after that, it sat in a garage. Well, it got fixed up. Basically, they had to replace the entire front co-driver side frame rail. Literally, they had to
Okay.
like in strut apron. I'm talking the whole thing had to get cut and welded back on. And luckily this was done with by like a professional shop and not like
Yeah.
a DIY job. Otherwise, I wouldn't have bought the car in the first place.
Gotcha.
And then it rally crossed till '06 and then sat in a garage for 16 years.
Yeah.
And then my friends were like, "We found a cool thing on Marketplace. You want to go on an adventure?" And that's how I got it.
Yeah. I've trying to remember who I've had on the podcast that has experience with the 323. I want to say it's Jimmy Pelizzari. I'm trying to remember the guest, but yeah, he pretty much worked on the same vehicle, I believe. Was able to source parts for that, and I think he still has one.
Huh.
If not wrong, yeah, it was Jimmy. But yeah, very cool. Very nice.
Awesome. Yeah. No, that's it's always great seeing people who still have the 323s because the if you didn't know the GTXs specifically they only made or sold around 1,100 of them in the
Yeah,
States.
yeah,
They are like that's the part of it that like
pretty rare. Yeah,
GTX shells are hard to source. The kind of circling back to the notion of parts. Luckily, a lot of parts, especially for the all-wheel drive stuff, like basically anything just downstream from, your transfer case, can be swapped in to
oh,
be
okay.
with something relatively generic. Like for example, the rear axles, because those are hard to come by.
Mm-hmm.
You can kind of frank an axle one with some Miata parts, and the rear diff, funny enough, is also a Miata, like it's the same though. It's the same diff that was in like the NA Miata. So as long as you have the case, you can just drop a new diff in, as long as you have the case and it doesn't explode. Those never tend to explode, but like if
Yeah.
say something strikes it and you have a hole in it, you got a bigger problem. But yeah, like the rear axles are relatively easy to source.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't gotten a good fix on a new prop shaft if I need it. Honestly, worst case scenario, I can fab one. It's not going to be pretty. I'm not good at making balanced. Well, I should rephrase
Yeah.
that. I don't have the equipment to make a robustly balanced assembly, but I can
Yeah.
try.
There you go.
But those things have a pretty good lock on them, and the engine, or at least mine, is a what's called a BG swap. So the
Mm-hmm.
BG chassis ones that were released in the '90s ran a BPT as opposed to the BF models, which is the one I have, ran a B6T. The
Okay.
BP, kind of trailing back to Miata stuff, the BP in its non-turboed version is what's in the NA Miata. So there's a lot of interchangeability, and usually aftermarket companies are still making rebuild kits. Well, I don't even know. Mazda might even still be making rebuild kits
Yeah.
for them for like or head kits and whatnot.
Right.
You can just get one for a Miata and slap it in there, and about 90% of it's interchangeable.
Oh, very cool. Nice. So I won't see you at all for the rest of the year. I'm pretty busy. Got a lot of projects going on that I got to wrap up. But I want to thank you for making my first experience volunteering a real enjoyable one. So I had a lot of fun with you and that team that night at the Super. Even though the trees blocked our view and we couldn't see any action, but
I still can't believe they did that. Or like, that was set up that way.
yeah,
Like that. So,
no one liked stopping on that hill.
oh yeah, no,
That was
that's still the
horrible.
funniest part about that. I know it had to be set up for the sake of how it had to be
Yeah,
for the event, but like you could tell that all the drivers just didn't like it they'd have to dump the clutch to get up there.
yeah.
And
And
it
there was
was
some
just really funny
smoke.
to watch.
Yeah, there
I,
was some smoke and some fluids leaking on that hill for sure. So, but thanks again. It was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed that. It
oh
was a
yeah,
good first
absolutely. It
experience for
was.
me.
I'm glad you enjoyed it. It was an absolute blast working with you that entire event. Like
Yeah,
Super
thanks.
Special was the Super Special being how it was a blast, and it was also just a blast having you along.
Thanks. Yeah, I didn't know what I was doing, but uh, you taught me well. So
Of course, and
appreciate that.
we all have to learn at some point because
Yeah.
I mean, it's it's it just has a I mean at this point it has a strange learning curve,
Oh
but
yeah.
once you understand it, you understand it and it just clicks.
Yeah. And yeah, it's a great opportunity. I think a lot of people should definitely volunteer and get out there and check it out. You learn a lot of
Oh,
fun.
for sure,
Meet a
for
lot of
sure.
great people too. So
Oh yeah, honestly, I would not have gotten like the parts or the connections I have, especially for my car,
hmm
just if I hadn't started going to events. Like I didn't even know where to get because I had to get the cage replaced on the 323, and I didn't even know where to go originally. And then having gone to a couple events, and
hmm
having met several cage builders, then that's how I settled on getting my cage TRF built. And I haven't regretted that since because the cage, compared to its original cage,
yeah.
I actually feel safe in this one. The old one, I would not trust. Like there were undercut welds on it. I don't know how
Okay.
it like that cage somehow passed tech in '99, but we're not going to talk about that because it was something.
Well, good. Yeah, safety first. So, well, thanks, Christian. Really appreciate you taking the time this evening and chatting. Um, and I really look forward to running into you again, another rally and volunteering. And hopefully we'll see you behind the wheel as well,
Oh yeah, I
or at least in
honestly,
the silly seat, as they call it,
yeah,
co-driving.
no. I really hope to be in the silly seat this year, if not next year. But hopefully by next year I'll just be driving. So
Yeah,
we'll see how it
awesome.
goes.
Awesome. I look forward to it.
Hell yeah.
All right. Well, have a good evening.
Absolutely, Jim.
All
Thanks for
right.
having me.
Oh, you're welcome. Take care.
Take care.
If you'd like to be on the podcast, you can email me, jim@jimboothdesigns.com, or message me through Facebook at Rallying in America, the Recce Podcast, or Instagram, rallying_in_America. Special thanks to Brady Instruments, pro-grade, handmade, professional fuel hydrometers. Visit bradyinstruments.com for all of your fuel testing needs. Thanks to Toontank and the artist Nuclear Wave for the podcast theme music.